I would totally agree with you.
Okay, I sent an email.
Good morning, Carl. How are you?
Yeah, I hear you.
But it's totally, anytime it sets a bad precedent.
He's just trying to be who he is.
Sure, you can have them do that. I had sent you an email, I think it was on Saturday, about getting into my.
I saw that. I'm gonna send it to IT.
Yeah,
when we get
you
a
know what
break.
I think? It says that my subscription expired on November 20th.
Okay.
So maybe they didn't renew me, but I
Denise,
didn't take it personally.
Would you have another pen I can borrow? Oh, never mind. I'm good,
I
thank
think you
you.
reached your quota.
On pens?
Pens.
I need it.
He didn't hear me. That's good.
Don't upset him, he's sitting next to me. Oh, except for just the right seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready. I am going to turn on the recorder. The time is now 9:31 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today is Monday, December 14th, 2020. First item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Rich Bronco, Steve Kleinglass, Richard McCafferty, Ernest Booker, and Carl Shorba. On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. District Council Andy Cohen is present. District Engineer Rick Schapper is present. We also have General Manager of the River Club Denise Payton present, and Field Manager Keith Livermore present as well. We also have John Tolbord on behalf of Rosetta and Company, Senior Field Services Manager present as well. Supervisors, before we move forward to public comment, we did have a sunshine law update, especially for the new supervisors, for a couple of minutes. So I wanted to give Andy the floor so that we could start with the sunshine law update. Andy?
Good morning, everybody. And as I've said before, I'm glad to do a more detailed presentation for the board and committee members, maybe sometime after the new year. That's what we've practiced in the past. But just a 2-minute primer this morning. I just want to go over some of the highlights, which basically is that 2 or more board members should not be discussing any CDD business outside of a duly scheduled meeting. And this also applies to committee members. I'll get to that in a second, but let's stick with the board for a moment. So those of you who might be familiar with HOA type positions, the law is a little bit different in that it refers to a quorum. So with a 5-member board, 2 HOA board members could actually get together. But here, it's no more than 1. So you should not be discussing, as I said, CDD business outside of a regularly scheduled meeting. Now, not only does that implicate the classic situation when you think of, hey, Ernest calls up Rick and they're having a conversation, not that that would ever happen, guys. But the thing that trips people up are other mediums of communication, namely email is the big culprit. You should not be exchanging emails with your fellow board members about CDD business. You're still allowed to have friends, you're still allowed to talk about sports, about the weather, but you shouldn't be exchanging emails, you shouldn't be exchanging texts, you shouldn't be talking on the phone, meeting, etc. So one of the questions I get asked frequently about emails is, well, what if I'm just going to email my board members and say, hey, here's a bunch of stuff, don't email me back, let's talk about it at the meeting on Monday. From a pure legal standpoint, that is okay. I do not encourage it because it's very easy for one of your board members to write back and say, thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing you on Monday. Then you've got a problem. So while I don't encourage it, I do recognize that sometimes it's necessary. If you are going to do that, put big admonition, however you'd like to say it, at the end in capital letters or whatever. Please do not reply all, because it's the exchange that causes the issue. While we're talking about emails, and I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it many, 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 many times, use your CDD email address. If a friend or neighbor happens to have your regular email address and they email you about a CDD issue, forward it to your CDD email and respond from there. That is not so much about sunshine issues as it is about public record issues. Rosetta Company is the public records custodian for the district. So to the extent that someone says, hey, I'd like to see all of your emails related to the ponds over the last month, you do not get paid enough money to be the records custodian. You want Rosetta to be able to pull that information down and provide a response to whomever it is that has requested that info. So those are some of the highlights. Let me talk briefly and address some of the people in the audience that might be committee members. Our committees are CDD committees, and when they're set up to be beyond pure fact finding, meaning they make recommendations to the board, then you are subject to the Sunshine Law and all the things that I just said. So you should not be emailing your fellow committee members about your CDD committee business. And you should be utilizing your CDD assigned email address. There's a lot of other intricacies with regards to the Sunshine Law. The question I always get is, well, what are the consequences? Well, there's criminal consequences, there's civil, in terms of fines and such. But what I say is the most important consequence, unfortunately, is that a lot of attorneys have started sort of a cottage industry in suing public entities for sunshine violations. And especially in the area that we live, the city of Venice a few years ago incurred attorney's fees from the other side of about $777,000. When you factored in their attorney's fees, they paid about $2 million. The city of Sarasota had a case against one of their then sitting city commissioners, Commissioner Chapman. They were actually successful in that case. They, quote, won, the city did, but they spent $400,000 in attorney's fees to win. So not only do we want to, of course, be adhering to the law, but we do not ever want to expose our community and community members to an issue like the people in those cases, unfortunately, had to deal with. So it's important. You need to adhere to it. I will also tell you that you have plenty of resources. You've got Belinda and the whole Rosetta team, myself. Anytime you have any question, please, 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 please feel free to ask. So, yes, Mr. Chorba.
Yes, Andy. As you know, I've sent a couple of emails, copied the board, sent them to you and Belinda with the proviso, don't respond to this.
Right.
If I, trying to avoid the pitfalls, if I've got something that I want the board to be aware of, is I just send it to you or Belinda and say, can you distribute this with the proviso? Or what I have done in the past, is that okay? Because you did mention that proviso.
As I said, what you've done in the past is not my favorite thing, okay? Because it's so easy to respond. But it is, from a purely legal standpoint, allowable.
Okay.
If you have information, probably, and it can wait, but sometimes it can't, I get that. But if it can wait, probably the best thing to do is to give it to Belinda and have her include it in the agenda package. What you can't do is utilize either myself or Belinda or really anyone as a conduit.
Okay.
So you can't utilize us to do what you wouldn't otherwise be entitled to do. You can't say, hey, Andy, tell Rich that I think that pond looks great. And then Rich will say, okay, thanks. Tell Carl I agree. It does look great.
Okay.
So you couldn't utilize us for that.
Understand. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What happens if there's an emergency situation requiring immediate response? Can one of the board members contact another board member to advise them of the response, say, hey, this situation exists, what should we do? Or
It's an emergency situation. We would help figure out what would be the best legally available way to respond. Yes,
One of the
sir.
things that I've done with emails that come from residents that don't necessarily apply to me because of my responsibilities. Let's say it deals with a landscaping issue,
Mhm.
and they only send it to me. I always respond to the homeowner that Rick McCafferty is the liaison for landscaping, and I cannot forward this email to him, but I suggest you get in touch with him. That seems to work.
Perfectly
There's no
allowable
problem.
and a better course of action,
Okay.
because then, of course, you've taken yourself out of that
Right.
potential issue where Rick writes back and goes, why'd you send me this?
Right.
Thanks a lot.
One other thing I'll say, being that we're talking about this, it's the same thing I said 4 years ago regarding Harry Ornstein and 2 years ago regarding Rick McCafferty when he came on the board. I'm a member of the golf club. Most people know that. So is Ernest Booker. Rick is not any longer. I organize 3 golf games a week. They involve as many as a dozen players. And Ernest is a part of that group. And I'm well aware of my responsibilities sunshine law-wise, but certainly there's a possibility that we may be in the same foursome. I do not make up the foursomes. They're made up by, I send in the names. So just as part of full disclosure, I mean, you may see me on the green with Ernest Booker. We happen to be neighbors across the street from one another, right? However, I'm a man of integrity, and I believe Ernest is as well, as is Rick, as was Harry Ornstein. And as soon as Steve joins the golf club and Carl, well, I'll speak about them as well. So, thank you.
And thank you for
Well
pointing
said.
that out, because thank you for pointing that out, obviously respect that. But it does raise another issue, which you alluded to, which is appearances matter too.
Absolutely.
So you as board members need to take that into advisement. So, when you're sitting in the River Club and let's say all 5 of you are sitting at a table and really all you're talking about is the holidays and the weather. Someone's gonna walk by and be like, oh, they're talking about CDD business. So just be cognizant of those types of things.
Appearance of an impropriety.
Yes,
Andy, I have a question about committees.
yes,
So a committee member could talk to the liaison on the CDD board. Would you explain that a little bit, how that works?
sure, absolutely. We purposefully made each one of you board members that are interacting with your respective committee. You are not a member of that committee. You are a liaison. And if you were a member of that committee, they would not be able to talk to you because of these sunshine issues. But because you are simply a liaison, not a member of the committee, those committee members can speak with you about whatever issues you're working on at any point, individually, of course. Like we talked about, if you got a 5-member committee, they can't all come to you outside of a meeting, but one by one, they certainly could come and discuss any issues with you or any staff. All right, and I'm, like I said, we'll do something a little bit more detailed as the year progresses, but I am also at any time available to answer any questions related to these issues because obviously they are important. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move forward with our agenda. Supervisors, the next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we are going to limit public comment to 3 minutes per person. I do ask that when you speak, you try to speak as loudly as you can because it's difficult to hear, especially with the mask. Our first speaker today is David Moy. Mr. Moy.
Hi, I think you can hear me. I reside at 169 Padova Way, and for the past 2 years, I've been a member of the Social and Dining Committee, and my term expires this month. So I wanted to take my 3 minutes to express my gratitude to the management staff and here at the River Club for their dedication and service. Additionally, I understand that there is an RFP going around and to evaluate the alternatives in the marketplace and the alternatives in the marketplace to take over the administration of the River Club. And but I wanted to express my experiences evaluating RFPs that the lowest cost vendors does not always equate to the best value. To that end, I wanted to express to this committee the value that the incumbent staff bring to the River Club. Subjectively, we would all agree that they're knowledgeable, personable, hardworking, and very professional. Objectively, though, I think that I wanted to list a number of the things that they have done and that can be calibrated and evaluated. Out of the box thinking, and this out of the box thinking that the River Club bring, the current management at ICON bring, is that they're constantly looking to increase revenue to lessen the burden on for the owners of the owners of the River Club that have to pay in. To that end, again, they've instituted things like outside weddings, private parties, theme nights such as pasta night, wine dinners, and lately, last on Wednesdays, last minute promotions. And if you're not familiar with these last minute promotions, Chris, Paul, and Chef Tim get together on Tuesdays after their day off and look at what the reservation count is. And if it's very low, they'll go in and try to do a promotional, something very promotional, such as 2 for $20 dinners, okay? For amenities, accomplishments, again, dress code. They reevaluated and changed the dress code. Tennis court facilities were upgraded with new equipment in the new equipment and flooring in the gym, and expanded sharing of training classes for all instituted. In an effort to be all-inclusive, a Newcomers Program was instituted in 2019, welcoming all new owners to try to get them to utilize the facilities, not only the dining room, but all of the facilities, tennis, as well as the gym. Game night, if you're not familiar with game night, many people would come here and want to play cards during the day, so they were scattered throughout the week. So what Chris instituted was he picked a Tuesday night and had everybody here at one time.
David, I'm going to ask you to speed it up because
Okay.
we're running out of time.
Okay. Let me see, or one last thing here. Let me get right to it here. For dining, I think this is the most important, is that we all know we had COVID shut down in March. But here's some numbers that they received 64.4%. They achieved 64.4% of sales over 2019 with 6 months less. In addition to that, they drew $22,000 less from CDD from 2019. So therefore, in closing, I just wanted to say that if I had a vote, I would vote for ICON. And leave it at that.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Moy.
That's as fast as 2-3 minutes.
Goes by quickly.
Our next speaker is Tom Duncan. Mr. Duncan?
Morning.
Morning.
My name's Tom Duncan. There's been a lot of talk within the community surrounding the one club concept and the negative impact on the CD if it were required.
Could you get a little closer? Thank you.
Many are concerned that the golf club loses money and the CDD shouldn't have to pay for that. I understand that, and I'm not here to advocate for the one club concept. That ship has sailed. However, I find it ironic that concern surrounding the golf club's financial picture is not viewed the same way when it comes to the River Club. The tax assessments for the River Club total $2.3 million, which is comprised of $1.5 million for operations, $0.3 million for capital reserves, and $500,000 for debt service. I believe the golf club and the River Club are assets for our community, However, the River Club could potentially become a drag on home values due to the high tax assessments. I respectfully suggest the board evaluate the costs of the River Club and determine ways to improve the operation and reduce the tax assessments. On a different note, the Tiki Bar renovation is currently on the board's agenda. While I was unable to locate any information concerning the pro forma on the Tiki Bar, I'm hopeful the board has seen such a document. I would respectfully suggest the board review and share the pro forma impact on operations and tax assessments to the community if the Tiki Bar renovation is considered. Thank you for allowing me to express my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Eric Switzer. Schweitzer.
2 points real quick. They're basic. 1, meetings. All the meetings are on Monday morning at 9:30 throughout the year. There's a lot of people in this community who can't make 9:30 meetings on Monday. There should be another time in the afternoon on another day so other people in the community can come to a meeting. Second thing, I'd like to know the status of the dog park. There's a lot of people, a lot of my friends have dogs. We're all waiting for the dog park. It's been a year plus now. It seems like the dog park was approved for the pickleball court. I know there's progress being made, but where are we at? There's a lot of people want to use it. And it's one of the few enhancements I've seen to this community that's been proposed and being implemented. So, thank you.
Real quick on that one, Eric. It's in the hands of the Venice City Council and the Planning Board. It's been given approval by FPL. It's been given approval by Swift Mud, Southwest Florida Water Management District. The wheels of government grind exceedingly slow. However, we are in constant contact with them. Our engineer is in constant contact. I'm sure he's going to give us a little update on it. We're all waiting for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jill Pizarro. Jill?
Maybe while Paul is doing this, if you're going to read David Lusty's email into the record.
I can, or you can do it on his behalf as well.
Okay, but if you got it, that's fine. I don't need 3 minutes, but I might take 3 minutes.
It might be better to have you read it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. Why don't you read it?
Okay, all right.
Read quickly.
Yeah, so this is an email that was sent to the board and to Belinda and Andy from David Lusty. Dear Belinda, unfortunately, I'll be out of town Monday and unable to attend the board meeting. I request you read my note below into the public record during the public comment time of the meeting. Dear supervisors, after careful review of the full proposals by Icon, Pope, and Vesta, I strongly recommend the VCDD Board of Supervisors select Vesta Property Services as the management company for the River Club. I base my recommendation on the following. Vesta's superior track record spanning over 25 years, that's number one, with nearly 100% client satisfaction and retention rate, which indicates the fact they are still managing the property of their first client. Their track record is a testament to their consistent high levels of service. Their client testimonials and references are excellent. Number two, a coveted A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Number three, the professional in-house management team, including CPAs on staff, which Icon does not offer. Number four, their comprehensive menu of services, including on-site management, association governance, maintenance services, financial services, an area of consistent problems with Icon, portfolio management, and sorely needed strategic and long-term planning. 5, full transparency of their financial information, which Icon flatly refuses to provide. And number 6, competitive pricing. Having served on the VCDD Board of Supervisors the past 4 years, there are many deficiencies with Icon's service and performance. Suffice it to say, we can do much better. I urge the board to select Vesta Property Services as a River Club property management company. I would just like to add in, that's from David Lusty, again, former board member. From my side, I know that the board has the material from Vesta, but I would just call out when they discuss in their materials on their page 4, personal oversight and support. I would call out, I think that they have the opportunity to make our board more efficient, take some of the things off the board's plate, which are currently making the meetings run very long. And I think as our community is aging, I think we desperately need the project management services and expertise. that stuff offers. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. There being no further speakers, we're going to move forward with our agenda supervisors. The next item on the agenda is the district engineer staff report. Rick?
Okay, for this past month, for the engineering, or past few weeks, it's not been too much happening. Keith and I worked together. There was a resident, I don't remember what the address was, wherever Keith went. But there was, the irrigation line had plugged up. The irrigation was on the opposite side of the street. And so we looked at how to fix that, and for us to dig it up and potentially have some issues with the road, what we come up with was to tie to the neighbor. And it's only a 5 foot away. The neighbor had no issues. So we did that. It's the first step. I don't know if there've been any issues with that because it's a 1-inch line. 1-inch line is plenty big enough to service multiple houses. So that's, I just want to let the board know that's what we had done for that instance. So
Rick, will that have any effect on the watering day? Will those two homeowners have to water on the same day because of the tie-in on the main line?
No,
They won't?
No.
Okay,
and they both have full pressure and it's going to.
okay.
okay, the speed cushions out here, back in October, the board voted to utilize the Anderson asphalt for $2,350. I have tried for a couple of months to get them to come back, to get them to come out, to schedule it. Had a lot of the challenges, and then they started becoming non-responsive. The second bidder was Advanced the asphalt. They were $50 higher. I reached out to Belinda, and we went ahead and just went with them. They're going to be out here, have it done before December 23rd. That's when the plants will close. The Anderson started coming back, and their prices jumped way up. And I went back to Greg, the Anderson, and he said, "Oh no, I got new staff," and I just had so many of the challenges. We just went with them for $50 extra.
Good idea.
Yeah.
How's that going to affect traffic on Pizarro?
It's gonna be exactly the same. They're gonna do them one at a time. So
Okay, so you just go around it, then do the other one.
correct. As soon as they get it done and pack it in, you're allowed to drive over it. So they'll probably do the two on the same side, the northbound at the same time, and come back and do the southbound.
Yeah, Rick, I didn't catch the date. You said that they would start or they would be completed.
Completed by.
It will be completed by the 23rd. That's the date that all the asphalt companies in the area close for the rest of the year, that they always take off
Thank you.
that week. Okay, there was another concern about erosion out at 133 Martalaga. One out there to look. It's what we consider minor, so it's a spot erosion. I didn't see the need to try to get anything done right away. So the next time we do bank restoration, we'll just have that part of that
Included.
Roadway repairs for Traviso and Verano.
Balanza.
Right, Balanza. Okay. That was the area where we had the diesel spill. And what the diesel does is it attacks the aggregates. So if you look along the curve, you can see that the asphalt now is down at least the half an inch. When they build the roads, they try to make sure that the asphalt is a 1/4 inch above that. So we're probably down 3/4 of an inch of asphalt. The base is still holding up really well, but we're down to probably a half an inch or less of the asphalt. Well, and we have a few, the potholes that are pretty small right now. But we went ahead and we put together the bid package, and the bids are due in the January for just those two streets right there. For the rest of these, we're gonna look and see, and we're gonna probably recommend using that asphalt rejuvenation, but we'll probably try to phase that because it'll get costly. We have been coordinating with the attorney representing us, and we need to make sure that we keep the city fully informed of what we're doing so that they want to come out here to see, because we don't want them to come back and say, you're just covering up or you're hiding this. So they're going to be fully aware of what's going to happen, what's going to happen and when. Okay, pickleball dog park. I had another round of very, very minor comments from the city. Basically, when we did some of the changes from the previous, we're asking for stuff that we couldn't do because of the FPL requirements or the mandates. So we made just a couple minor revisions with that. And then on the text for the PUD amendment, they had asked for us to kind of reword some of that. So right now, we're just waiting for them to schedule the planning commission meeting. That'll be meeting number 1. Once that's done, then we go to the city council for the final meeting and approve, when they will approve it. I don't know what the dates we could have right now with the holidays. I'm sure they're probably pushed back some, but I'll keep you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I don't know what dates that we're going to get yet.
That's gonna be my question, so.
The holidays, I'm sure that they're booked up, so, but we're trying to push it and get it out there as soon as we can.
Is that Easter they're talking about?
I don't know.
On that issue, Rick, I had a conversation with Michael Wendroff, who's a resident here. He's on the board to decide about the park, the Knights Trail proposed park that the city has been proposing for about 10 years now. And he wanted to make it very clear that there is no guarantee that they will have pickleball or a dog park. That decision has not been made. And were residents of this community aware that there was no guarantee, that they were soliciting information from the residents, what would you like there? So I said, I think the residents are aware of that, and and he asked what the status was of the pickleball proposal and the dog park proposal here, and we spoke about that, and I sort of repeated what you just said to him, but he asked me in our conversation, could I make it very, very clear that though the park is a proposal, it is not a guarantee. And though pickleball is a consideration, that is certainly not a guarantee, nor is a dog park on their facility.
One of the comments from Nicole Remley, she's one of the planners over at the city. She had asked me to go back through one of the specific sections of the city, the code, and just to answer every question. There were like 13 of them. That was kind of one of them, was that, we're trying to make sure this community, and I talked about how the newer communities offer that, and that we're just trying to stay consistent with the newer communities that offer this amenity.
Okay.
Rich, I remember responding to that survey for the Northwest Venice
Right.
Park. What would you like? If I remember correctly, that was a link that was in the community association's email. Is that not correct?
I think so.
So if you haven't responded to it, you might want to get a hold of Michael or whomever on the community association.
Well, even Mitzi or
Rich.
Rich Cotero. I mean, they're
Rich
residents of
Cotero,
the community.
sure. Our council representative.
Okay, the last thing that I had was the irrigation, the pumps, we've replaced that. You guys invested a lot of money to replace all that, fix it all up, bring it up to the most current standards that are out there. Metros recommended that we put the cover over that. Their price come in at $17,600. It's gonna be a fixed structure with a removable, the roof where they could take that off if they have to replace the pumps. We've reached out to try to find other alternatives for that. I was really convinced to myself that a shade structure would work, because I see how they put them up. They screw this thing with a drill and it just loosens it up and you unhook it. But the best price I could find for that, it was just the materials, and it's $12,000. No labor included at all. So the more I look at that, I'm seem like I'm more convinced that the option would be the Metro's fixed
structure with a removable
structure.
piece.
So if you want to, I'm not sure where we would need to go, if you need to put that into your planning or your budgets for next year or whatever, but it's $17,600.
Okay.
Keith, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that.
Sooner than later. I was gonna say, what kind of timing do you need on that?
Well, I mean, the pumps and the panels and everything is made for outdoor, but they highly recommend you cover it to get the maximum light out of that. So I don't see where we need to do it tomorrow, but it's something that we should plan to cover it. Appears to me the best price would have been the one from Metro.
Should we get a solid proposal from them that we can deal with?
We have one.
Well, we can put it on the agenda though.
Yeah. Why don't we do that?
Can we do it right now and be done with this? We spent 300,000 on these pumps. Why can't we just,
You certainly
done.
could. If the board decides that they want to take action today, though, just so we're aware, we would open it up to audience comments, since it is an off-agenda item, but it
Yeah.
doesn't prevent you from
Yeah.
taking up.
well, I guess I would move we do this. We spent all this money on these pumps. We're gonna do this eventually. Why not get on with it?
Well, I was out there to see this before the work was done, and in speaking with those in the know that are there, the engineers that were there, I agree with you, and I would second your motion.
And then Rick, we're done with this project.
Of course, let me just.
Well, I'm asking.
I surely hope so.
Okay,
This would be subject, our office would prepare a
Sure.
contract.
sure.
What their proposal says, total parts and labor to install aluminum insulated composite roof with removable hatch for new station. Engineering and permits are extra if requested, and 6 to 10 weeks. So I don't know if we need to really spend a lot of time for permitting. I'm thinking this may be one of those things that's exempt from any of that, but that's something we'd have to check into. But again, if we put up the shade, we run into the same thing.
This is-
$17,600.
Plus, what I heard is potential, but not necessarily permitting
Permitting.
costs, right?
And they said that could be an additional $1,800, but I don't know if that's going to be required. So that's something that we should just throw in there too then.
Do we have any issues with it being on golf course property? We have an easement there, I think, right?
Andy checked
Perpetual
into that, and
We have
I'm
a
sure he
perpetual
can
easement?
clear it up.
We have an agreement, with the golf course that David Jackson from my office worked on with Jerry Gasper.
Mhm.
And it takes care of all sorts of issues in defining what the respective parties' responsibilities are in that area with the pumps and the structures. And I do believe that we're sufficiently covered.
Covered, okay.
It's recorded so that in the future, if any question arose, be able to dissect what happened.
Okay. All right, we have a motion that was seconded. Is there, we have to open for public comment?
We do.
Any public comment on this issue? Okay, we can close public comment. Discussion with the board?
Is this item also part of the reserves on this item? Where does the money
We
come
kind of
from?
blew past the reserves for the vote.
I didn't hear you, Andy.
There was, my recollection, and Belinda can confirm this, there was money in the reserves for the pump station, but it didn't come close to the amount that we needed, so we blew past that.
We went way past.
So you would also have to provide direction as to how you would fund the cost, whether or not you want to proceed and take these funds from the reserve or non-reoccurring costs as well.
What's the best advice there? Non-reoccurring?
At this point, I would suggest non-reoccurring.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
okay, that makes sense to me.
Another question.
Sure.
Rick, I'm assuming, given that we spent $360,000 on these pumps, that this is the best recommendation right now to put this cover on this so that we maximize the life of our investment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we knew this from the start.
Right.
This was mentioned months before they even took the old pumps out. When I was over there, you were there, there were several others were there, including the companies that were being considered. They pointed out, even the golf course superintendent who was there was very familiar with this sort of thing. He said that he was one of the first ones to say, you got to cover this. You know, it's like leaving your Lamborghini in the driveway when you can put it in the garage. So,
Only you would say that.
well, I mean, that
But it
puts it
will
into a
still
perspective. We have an expensive piece of equipment out there. Expensive piece of equipment out there. Go
So
ahead.
let me ask this, Mr. Chairman. Do we have, if we're going to vote to approve this, do we have an outside number? Because we have 17.6 plus 1,800. That's 19.4, not to exceed 20.
Not to exceed 20?
I think that's a very good number.
And Steve, that you're okay with your motion?
Yeah, I'm
And
fine.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's fine.
And that takes into consideration the permits and everything else
That's right.
necessary.
Yes, that's
It's,
This would obviously be subject to an addendum to the existing agreement we have in place with Metro for the installation of the pump
Right.
station.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded. We've had public comment. Supervisors have commented. Can we vote?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I said aye.
and I,
Okay. Motion carries
I
four in
didn't raise my
favor,
hand though, so I'm
one
sorry.
against. I didn't hear you.
Rich, do you want me to mention anything about the fence at the tennis?
Yeah, I, just for the supervisor's knowledge, Rick and I have been in contact over the last couple of days about the tennis fence. And though I had to leave the meeting before that was discussed last time, I am aware and speaking with Keith as to what transpired. I was concerned. I also have spoken with Denise and with Charlie. I was concerned about the stability of everything out there, so I reached out to our resident expert. And just to see, I asked Rick two questions. Take a look at the support poles and tell me if they are sound or if they need to be replaced, because we have one vendor that want to replace everything. And is this a repair as opposed to a replacement? Because we're talking about a lot of money. And you want to give us your report?
Yeah, I went out there to look. I walked three sides of the fences. I did not walk the northern edge, but I walked the others, looked at it, the posts, they all seem to be fine. I mean, there may be minor little stuff here and there, but I didn't see anything that would concern me. As far as the fencing, there's a lot of fences at the base that they're curled up. And there's some things they could do with that. They could put the tension wire, run that through to secure that. I noticed that, I'm not sure what the court numbers are, but the southwestern, the court, they got a little screen underneath there because it looks like it curled up enough that the ball can maybe fit underneath that. But that's some minor stuff. I look back on the approved reserve study. That's looks like it's shown to be a replacement in 2029 for $81,000. So I think, I didn't see anything there that concerned me that we had to do much.
So this fence is repairable, and in your opinion, it isn't something that we should be running out to replace at this moment.
What about, and I know, you're probably gonna ask the same question.
Yeah,
Safety.
you know what I'm gonna say, safety. Yep. Does it create a clear and present, safety issue?
I happened to ask one of the guys that was out there playing, and he basically was more concerned with the balls getting stuck in that, and not so much your foot. It's curled up. I'm sure there's some concern possibly, but nobody said much about that, and what I saw didn't seem like it was much, because if the ball was that far past, it's already out, or that they just don't seem like they play to the level of the pros where they have to play 20 foot outside of the baseline. So I don't see it being.
But either way, be it we discussed it being a safety issue, I believe, back in September or so, when this, or maybe it was even earlier than that. A fix, a repair, is going to mitigate that entirely. It's going to pull this fence
If we could just
taut.
reach out and get the wire to feed the tension wire, then that seemed like it would take care of.
Wouldn't it make sense if we heard from the pro, as he said?
We already have.
Not
Yeah,
a fencing
and what-
expert.
And as it relates to the safety issue?
The safety issue, Ernest, will be mitigated if you replace the fence at tens of thousands of dollars right now, or if you do a repair and using a tension wire, a pole, whatever. I'm not a fence person, but pull this thing back into shape. It is repairable.
Okay.
Certainly we can replace it at 23,000 or 35,000, whichever one of these vendors you want to go with. But there seems to be a much more cost-effective way. The fence itself, the support of it is certainly sound, and we need to get the bottom of it repaired. That's all.
Aren't we ahead of ourselves on our agenda here?
Well, I'm asking some questions from the expert before we get to that, because this is going to come up again on the agenda.
And I'm not sure I was going to stay around for that.
I don't think
unless
you need-
wanted me to.
I don't think you need to. I think you've given us a great deal of information.
Okay, so his opinion.
His opinion.
Well,
Okay, his,
Since I wanted to make a comment, but Mr. Chairman, you mentioned, we've got it as item, second or third item on the list. I can wait till then, but I did
Okay.
my own investigation
Okay.
on this. And while Rick has mentioned some other things that might be done, there's also the ability to do roll bars at the bottom of the fencing, which can stay in place when you replace the rest of the fence. So my recommendation is you take this back to the rec or the facilities committee, have them investigate as the proper fix, and let's get on with it.
Okay, I don't think we need Rick to stay any longer. Does anybody think we do?
No.
Thank you very much for looking into
Mr.
it.
Chairman, what about the lights? We had,
That's not on
were you able to go out and do the lights, look at the lights?
Yeah, we looked at those, and it's also that it appears that's repairable also. I did look at the reserve study on the lights, and they were supposed to be also replaced in 2029 for about $90,000.
But your opinion, are they, the arms at the tennis, the parking lot ones aren't just ugly. The arms at the tennis with the rust, is that at this time a safety hazard?
I don't think so. I think it's
Cosmetic.
repairable just to repaint that. But again, as we spoke in the past, those lights are very old style. I'm sure there's much more efficient lights out there that would cost less to operate. But again, you need to weigh the cost of that. But as far as the structural, I'm not the engineer, but from what I see, it looks like it's all the cosmetic type stuff.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Rick?
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving forward with our agenda, supervisors, the next item on the agenda is the review of the November 18th, 2020 field inspection report. This is behind tab number 1 for your review. John is present. Good morning, John.
Morning, John.
Just you had a chance to.
Use the mic, please.
Oh, sorry about that. You had a chance to review the report. There is an improvement, I think, since I was here on the November 18th. And just from what I saw coming through, just from what I saw coming through today, more. Okay, here we go. My follow-up inspection is actually scheduled for January 1st. That won't occur, but it will be within a few days after that. And so I have discussed that with LMP. After this meeting and my adjournment, I will be visiting the what I call the Atella Wall, and be visiting with Mr. Ritter, I believe. So there's some maintenance issues there. I'll also discuss just very briefly with Mr. McCafferty, just 2 or 3 of the cul-de-sacs that I've mentioned over the past that I feel might be a good opportunity to rid the outer perimeter of turf. A lot of these outer perimeters are just 18 inches wide, if that. Some are smaller than that. And most are in pretty bad condition, whether it be because of push mowers or riders even being brought up that, in my opinion, is doing more damage. So I think it's a good opportunity to perhaps take that turf out so we don't have to get any machines up there at all and put in some kind of a nice ground cover. And I've given Mr. McCafferty a suggestion of summer sunset jasmine, which is a low-growing ground cover that would be a turf replacement. Just a few issues you're going to see in the report, several photos of turf issues. Some of them go back a few months that our previous account manager, where we had discussed some areas that turf needed to come out and be replaced. My confusion came in that there were areas like right here that got replaced, but right there it didn't. And those areas have now gotten worse. And so I try to point out a lot in these photos that you'll see in the report. If I see a yellowing area, small, yellowing typically would indicate the onset of an early fungus. So get at it now before it gets faster. So I try to report those as soon as I see them. But then once they start getting larger and larger, for instance, the Siltadella, outbound right-of-way of Siltadella outside the gates, that's a chronically bad area. There's areas around Jacaranda, across from the fire station on Aurora Road, that are also chronically bad, as well as like across from Traviso. Those are areas that I think, and that would be on the east side of Benito, north and south. But anyway, so those turf issues, I really want them to address those. Now is the time of year, November and December is when you're going to see a lot of brown patch come in. It's very common in turf, brown patch fungus. So I want to be very proactive in keeping that under control. Okay. Number 58. This was my biggest disappointment in the November inspection, and that's why it's red, bold, and underlined, because it just Avellini Park just looked like it had been not even looked at, with the exception of mowing. So in the one photo, I've put like 2 to 3 in past reports. But this one I limited it to 1 because it kind of showed the large Brazilian pepper, a dead pine snag. The photo 58B shows a dead cocoa plum right in the middle, and then no bed lines. So more attention needs to be paid in Avellini Park. That's why I put that in bold and red. I've already mentioned number 85, which is the Siltadella turf. And then number 65 on page 8, that is the Atella Martelago north, the juniper, pretty much just loaded with weeds. Now I did see though today coming in what I considered an improvement in what I call the side yard buffers into all the villages along Benito. They look like they had all been trimmed up pretty nicely and weeds have been removed. So anyway, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the report or concerns.
Your overall opinion of the performance of LMP?
Better over the past month and a half, yes.
Okay.
There was a little lull there prior to that, but since I did an inspection with Sergio, our new account manager.
Okay.
And since then, the date of this report till today.
John, on page 12, number 3,
Glad you asked that.
you ask about whether we would be interested in turf.
Yes.
I played golf there for 8 years. The carts never go where that grass is dead. The carts, when they exit 9, they go down to the sidewalk and they cross the street. So I don't know who walks there. You said foot traffic. I can't imagine who would walk in that area.
There's an area, and I probably didn't show it very well in the photo, that where the golf cart comes out to meet near the 3-point intersection, where it intersects, like the sidewalk that goes parallel with Veneto, and then the golf cart comes out like this, right in here. This is the biggest area that I'm talking about between the sidewalk and the golf cart. I have seen a lot of golf carts in that area.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I hadn't. That's when I saw this. You have gold carts, but that doesn't matter.
This photo kind of.
It's for the older people.
Yes, much older.
This kind of focuses on the right of way there, and I didn't pay more. I should have try to focus on the area between.
That's you see that as you exit. It's our front door. It's I guess it's our back door because we're going out. But it looks to me like it should be something that should be taken care of. So can we get LMP to give us a price on that? At least I would think we would.
Yeah, with the
I'm
response to this report.
I'm a voice of one. Okay. Thanks, John.
I had mentioned to John earlier, this is an extremely good report. I mean, very comprehensive,
They al-
very thorough.
They always are.
Yeah, really quite good.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any questions?
Any other questions for John?
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Supervisors, the next item on the agenda is the review and consideration of the proposals received in response to the RFP for amenity management. I did mention to the chairman that we were able to contact Polk, and I do believe that we do have representatives from Polk present. Before beginning discussion on the proposals, would we like to give Polk the opportunity to present, just as we did the other vendors at the last meeting?
In as much as it was presented to me that Polk management wasn't aware they were invited, I think we should give them my opinion is we should give them an opportunity to speak.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Do we have representatives from Polk present? We do. Good morning. Could you please approach?
No cookies.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? I have a soft voice. My kids tell me otherwise, but my name is Kathleen Gagg.
Thank you.
I am, sorry.
Thank you.
You can
president
take that
of
off.
Polk Properties.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that? I'm Kathleen Gagg. I'm president of Polk Properties. I want to introduce you both to all of you to Ryan Henderson, who is standing over here. Ryan is our VP of Operations. And Patrick Scully is our Corporate Director of Food and Beverage. So as many of you may or may not know, Hope is a full-service lifestyle management company. So we manage everything from accounting to HOA, food and beverage, spa and fitness, wellness, maintenance, court sports, etc. I'm going to turn it over. I know you guys are focusing on your F&B portion, so I want to turn this over to Patrick, who is our corporate F&B director. And we will take any questions after the presentation.
Sure.
And I apologize, I didn't know we were going to have a screen, so.
We improvise.
Yes.
I take it down for a second, folks?
Sure can.
Sorry. Sure. Well, thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you today. Really quickly, I mean, one of the biggest things that I've seen, and to give you a little bit of my background before Pope, is I was in hotels for over 20 years. So my pedigree really comes from that ability to create experiences with members and with guests in the hotel field. And how does that translate to what we do today? I think more than ever, people have a different opportunity to dine, and the experiences that they want are not just ones of going to a clubhouse or a
19th hole or having the ability to have your liver and onions and so forth, which is very good, by the way. But also the opportunity to say, what do we do nowadays and today that's uniquely different? So I came on board about a year and a half ago, and since then have opened up 2 culinary centers. And one thing I think that we do very well is create dining and memorable experiences. A lot of companies have food and beverage, they have menus, they have libations, but we do it a little differently. We do things a little more creatively. We keep things fresh. We make sure people leave saying, wow, was I really in a culinary center? Was I really in my own backyard having dinner? Or was I actually staying at a freestanding restaurant? We do things differently, but we keep things price approachable to make sure that people have a value for price paid. Nobody wants to go to the Capitol Grill. I use kind of I love the Capitol Grill, but I like to use the terminology. It's Capitol Grill experience at a different style or approachable pricing. So, in your packets, you'll see a lot of things that we do. So if you turn, and I'm sorry, I don't have a page number on here, but it's about seven pages in, you'll see the food and beverage portion of what we offer. And I think the culinary programs create memorable dining experiences. And it's not just about them walking inside and seeing a fresh look, but it's about the other things that they don't see. Accredited food and beverage leadership, all of our chefs, Culinary Federation, encompass food and beverage operating procedures and systems, food and beverage menu planning and dining and design. One of the biggest things people don't understand is the overhead and cost it takes to run food and beverage. So, there's 4 Ps, really poultry, pasta, pizza, and profit. But we try to do things a little differently because there is overhead. So the controls and costs and systems we have in place, I like to take full responsibility of making sure that they're accurate, they're vetted, and we try to meet all of our budgeted numbers as much as possible. Because there is a lot of overhead that comes into food and beverage, especially in restaurants, country clubs, etc. We have a food and beverage banquet and catering development. Someone mentioned earlier today about the banquets and the catering aspect and how it does help the community out. It certainly does. But it really comes down to the members and what they're looking for. They're looking for something that's really private, or they want to subsidize some extra revenue to offset some expense over the year. Then I definitely do have a great program when it comes to bringing weddings, events, so forth inside the community to be able to assist with additional revenue, because it is important. We go through other things like detailed or community-driven events, financial analysis, and acumen. All those things really come from the background of what we believe makes us a really great company. I'll let you review those at your time. Variety is the spice of life. I mean, you look at our beverage and our food. When you walk into our establishments, you can have your Miller Lite because it's great beer. But if you want a craft style beer, we want to be able to offer that. We want to be able to offer your Trappist style beer. We want to be able to offer your smoked cocktails or your standard gin and tonics. Resort style living, resort style communities need resort style food and beverage experiences that need to be run by resort style food and beverage professionals. And the communities nowadays down in Florida, from what I'm seeing, really are driven to more of a lifestyle. And we want to be able to offer that. Beverage-centric wine programs. Who likes wine? I do. We do wine programs. We do wine clubs. We do cocktail events. Everything like that. Keep the place interesting and people want to come there. Those are things that we pride ourselves on as well. Banquet and catering, I touched on briefly, but really it comes down to being able to offer that opportunity to drive additional revenue. Theme nights on Tuesdays, wine Wednesdays, your quarterly events for the communities. It could be as simple as beer tastings that keep people excited. So I can go on and on, but what I can tell you is what I've seen is more of a resort style approach coming to resort style living communities. And I think the days of having the average is gone, and people are looking for more excitement in food and beverage. I'm not saying it's egregiously left field where no one's going to really understand it, but it's really that approachable experience. It's about that, ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. It's about that culinary and food experience that we could deliver. In the packet, you'll see further up information about cooking classes and things that we've offered to continue offering at our properties. So, we have a lot of things going on. I really want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk about lifestyle,
But what I'm really excited about is the food and beverage component of what we offer. Because it's not like everything else. It's exactly like nothing else. All right. Any questions that I can answer right now?
Are you still representing Esplanade?
Yes.
Lakewood Ranch?
No, not right now.
Okay, because I called them. And they said, well, why did you leave here?
That's a question I have to defer to Ryan Henderson. If you don't mind.
So we can talk through that. I mean, that was of course, a developer-run property.
Similar to this. Why don't you stand up, come up?
Okay, sure. Sure. Good morning. My name is Ryan Henderson, Vice President of Operations for the company. Just specifically, if we wanted to touch base on that question, I was actually the GM there at that property, Esplanade Lakewood Ranch that you're referring to. Our relationship is with the developer. So, we do all the Taylor Morrison properties, the Esplanade brand. Even if they're not in Esplanade, we still oversee their HOA operations if they don't have the amenity component or golf course component. So that particular property, resident turnover took place, the transition, the outreach, and then they went forward in another direction on that particular property. And what we are managing is their property right next to it. It's Esplanade Rosario Lakewood Ranch. It's brand new. It's about a 2,000 unit facility. We've got the golf course open now.
Yep.
They phase in their amenities as they go through, sales. And that's where we are with that particular property. We do have an identical property down in Naples, Esplanade Naples, that we still currently oversee operations for.
Okay, I'm satisfied. Okay.
Do you
It's
have some questions on lifestyle at all?
well, the Esplanade is similar to the lifestyle here. Would you agree?
Yes, sir. I would completely agree.
And
In some aspects, I think maybe we have a full-time, and Kathleen can speak to this a little bit more, but we have full-time lifestyle managers on property that are, set up with the lifestyle committee. They go through and plan events, work in collaboration with our F&B department and other departments that we utilize as well.
Would that be similar to like the social and dining committee that we have here?
I think there's some similarities there, but
Sounds like it.
lifestyle maybe is a little bit
step
more than
further.
that. Exactly.
It's kind of like on steroids.
If you were to be successful, I asked the same question to the other vendors as well. Are you bringing in your own staff? Are you keeping our staff? What are you doing?
So typically, when we transition into an existing community that is managed by residents, we like to evaluate the staff, talk to the board to get your opinion as well, so we can work together, so it's a smooth transition. I don't think you have a lifestyle manager here. We work hand in hand with food and beverage, the lifestyle department, because a lot of things are a combination of food and beverage. Everybody likes to drink. Everybody likes to have a good time. And we love to create memorable experiences that's going to last a lifetime. So we work together with the board and assessing your current staff and then making recommendations.
And this assessment, you don't know anybody that's here, so you must come in and set goals or expectations of the existing staff, I assume?
Correct, and we do training as well, because, especially we do things a little bit differently. We like to, like I just said, create memorable experiences through our different departments, and we don't operate in silos, so it's not the F&B department, the lifestyle department, the court sports, or wellness. It is a combination and we work together. So it would be an evaluation, it would be training, and then performance. It is a vision. It is a brand that we like, our Hope Lifestyle brand. It's been very successful. Taylor Morrison has been a client for almost 9 years now. And we help create the Esplanade brand and to where it is now. So we take pride in that. And a lot of that comes from our lifestyle department. Because, you know, you guys all move into the social atmosphere, and with COVID, unfortunately, it's been very challenging. It's been a tough year, 2020. But I'm very proud of my team because we've learned to operate in this pandemic virtually as well. And what we found was, you know, people have different opinions on this pandemic, and some are willing to come out and socialize and some aren't. So we've gotten very creative in offering both virtual and in person so we can stay connected, because that's what we all want, is a connection with one another.
How often would you be on site?
As often as we need to be. In the beginning, you probably are going to get sick of seeing us because we want to make sure that we're both successful. You know, we work for you, so we kind of take the lead, you know, from you on what your expectations are. So we have a lot of meetings in the beginning to understand, you know, where you guys are at and where we can come in and assist and help. We will make our recommendations, but at the end of the day, we take our direction from the board.
A year from now, after Pope has been here and you've assessed the employees, you've established plans for improvement where necessary, maybe some people will let go, whatever may happen. A year from now, how often are you on the property?
We're here a lot. Patrick, for food and beverage, he'll be here every day. Operations will be here every day. Depending on how you want to structure lifestyle, that's a further conversation, because I know you don't have a full-time or even a part-time lifestyle manager currently, but it's something that we can discuss and what your needs are, and, you know, kind of what our program is and how we can work together to fulfill your needs.
Okay.
We also have sports courts. We have a gentleman that manages courts and obviously the pool and fitness and stuff like that. That all is combined in our lifestyle. So when I say lifestyle, it's just not a person. It encompasses your fitness and your court sports and your pool and your fitness activities, etc.
You handle the Mission Valley as well?
I'm going to hand that over to Ryan. That's one of our public courses.
Yes, we do.
Okay. And you handle the court sports over there?
Yes, sir. Actually, we handle all operations at Mission Valley. It's really been quite a success story from them. They started to where, I don't know how familiar
I was
you
a
are.
member there.
Oh, okay, great.
Myself.
So, yeah, they, had to take on some public play while they continue to build their membership base. And they, I think hand in hand with the board, we've done a really good job of that. And they're really close to going back to more of a privatized status.
Were you there through the renovation?
Yes, sir, we were.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your fees, they're
great, aren't they?
Well, yeah, greater. No, you should say greater than others. Okay. Are they negotiable?
Yes.
Well, we need to be careful about that.
Yeah,
Because
you can't.
we did an
You can't.
RFP document where we asked each one of the proposers to put forward their best price, and that's what you're scoring them on.
Okay.
So to the extent that we negotiate with them, then we have potential for the other vendors to say, we didn't negotiate with me. So we asked them to put forward their best price. You utilize that in the scoring criteria that you have.
Okay, thank you. I stand correct.
I just make a general comment relative to Oak Golf that I contacted the three references that they had. Nathan Stith, which is, I don't know, is that up in Tampa or is that?
He is the local director of community management for Taylor Morrison.
For Taylor Morrison. And also I talked to Carlos DeAsa.
He would be his counterpart in Tampa.
Esplanade at Artisan Lakes. And, the standard comments were, we were very successful in the communities. Couldn't have done it without Patrick food and beverage, et cetera. And Carlos mentioned fantastic lifestyle, community management, good fitness, lifestyle management. So good community relations. And of course, Jack Onofrio at Vision Valley spoke very highly of the work that was done there and the improvements. So that's just, I want to get those general comments out.
Thank you.
On Pope's behalf.
Thank you.
We have any other questions for? anyone?
Listen, we really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to
Thank
speak,
you.
so thank you very much.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, board members, we've had a presentation from each of the three proposers. And we had evaluation criteria in the RFP package. As we talked about on the previous meeting, eventually, whether you're ready now or need some further discussion, you'll be scoring them based on the evaluation criteria that was in the package, handing that over to Belinda. Now would be your opportunity, though, should you want to have any discussion with your fellow board members. Hey, I'm thinking of giving Vesta 20 on this and Icon a 25 on that. What are your thoughts? I mean, absolutely, now's your opportunity to have that discussion. I see your hand.
Could we do that after a 5-minute break,
Sure. I mean, it's up to you as the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, if you'd like to take a 5-minute break, that's
Just a 5-minute break.
That's fine.
We are off the record at 10:47 a.m.
This is gonna go on, I guess, into the mid-afternoon.
Oh, I would hope not. I hope to be like 4 o'clock.
Okay. I would never.
Always looking for a deal. Good man. But